Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Administrator, I directed a question in the beginning or concerns about the GAO report. Do you want to tell me your reaction, what you can do, how quickly you can deal with this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. DeFazio. First and foremost, the system is safe. GAO acknowledged in their report that the agency has made significant progress in identifying the issues they talked about. And of the many recommendations, many have already been mitigated, and we're working closely with them to continue to focus on them. I'm very actively focused on the recommendations, and as I mentioned, we've remediated a very significant number of the technical findings already. We established a Cybersecurity Steering Committee a number of years ago. This was part of an initiative to give greater focus to the whole question of cyber. And I've asked them to provide oversight on behalf of the agency on a risk-based approach as we address each of these recommendations. They're not all equal. We've been proactively in identifying other potential actions to enhance the cybersecurity posture of our national airspace system, as well as the agency as a whole. And we've been working with our other government partners, those that, like we, have technology-based organizations, to ensure that we're using best practices. It's something that I am very committed to and very concerned about, and we're remediating this as quickly as we can.
You're moving or intending to move a lot to the cloud. Doesn't that raise concerns?
It raises an important question. As we have transitioned our national airspace system from what's largely been a closed system to an IP-based system where we're buying services from the private sector, what it means is not so much that we're opening up a problem that we haven't had, but it means that we have to ensure that we're using private sector best practices to ensure that we have the appropriate cyber controls in place.
Okay. Well, I haven't had a chance to read the 168 SSI recommendations, but I've got to say I'm going to be looking for some very specific assurances when I find some critical deficiencies, because you know, a hack of the air traffic control system could lead to catastrophic consequences, in my opinion. So, quickly on a couple other issues. I started maybe 15 years ago raising concerns about foreign repair stations with more and more work moving there. I have concerns, you know, that these people don't undergo background checks, but also at least minimally drug and alcohol testing. We've been working on a rule for I don't know how long. Where are we at?
We did publish an advance notice of proposed rulemaking on drug testing in foreign repair stations. We received a number of comments. We're evaluating those now, and we want to get the notice out in the near future.
It has been about, I think, a decade. Then how about the centralized database for pilot records? Where are we at on that?
We've done a fair amount of work on a centralized database. One of the things that we wanted to see is what we could learn from other industries that focus on centralized records from a wide variety of different technology sources. This one is technically very difficult for us to work through and to do it in a way that we can ensure that it meets the appropriate cost-benefit hurdles that it needs to meet. But it's something that is within the agency, and I'm hopeful that we're going to have a resolution of it in the not-too-distant future.
Okay. And then we've had you know, a lot of talk about certification. You know, I'm concerned about the you know, whether or not you're able to have adequate oversight with the proliferation of the ODAs out there. I mean, are you concerned about those staffing levels? Are you looking at augmenting those staffing levels? My understanding is, you know, these inspectors are carrying massive workloads, and they're going to get around like once every 3 years maybe to look at something.
The challenge is to come up with the appropriate balance of how do we use data to determine the highest areas of risk and to focus our efforts on that. Even if the FAA had all the resources in the world, aviation by its very nature is all about innovative technology, and we have to ensure that we get the expertise from the people that have it. Sometimes that will be from the industry, and the designation process is intended to find that right balance between what the agency retains and what we rely on industry to do on our behalf.
So you think it's optimal at this point then?
I don't think it's optimal because the industry is always evolving. I know that we have to be more nimble in how we do our part of it. Likewise, we have to have appropriate tools that enable us to audit industry acting on our behalf to ensure that there are not problems in the system.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. DeFazio.